Brought to you by Penguin.
The Habit of Excellence, written and read by Lieutenant Colonel Langley Sharp. To the families and loved ones of soldiers past and present, without whose sacrifice we could not do the job we do. For one swallow does not make a summer, nor does one day, and so too one day, or a short time, does not make a man blessed and happy. Aristotle, Nicomachean Ethics. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. William Durant, The Story of Philosophy. Preface. 6th of June, 2019. We were 20 minutes out from the Normandy drop zone when I looked up and noticed the words opposite me, scrawled inside the fuselage of the Dakota aircraft. Jock Hutton, Operation Overlord, Ronville, 5th to 6th of June 1944, night drop. Exactly 75 years earlier, Jock had made this journey in the same aircraft, one of the first wave of British soldiers to set foot in France on the day the battle to liberate it began. With 13th Lancashire Parachute Battalion, he was part of the 18,000-strong Allied airborne assault that paved the way for the success of the D-Day landings, capturing key positions behind the Normandy beaches, including Pegasus Bridge. Now, in 2019, the last survivor of his battalion, Jock sat at Duxford Airfield, waiting to be lifted to Ronville, to repeat the jump he had made behind enemy lines in 1944 as a 19-year-old private soldier. Ahead, in the plane that carried his name, we were nearing our drop, the first of a series of jumps to commemorate one of the parachute regiment's most famous battle honours, and one of the British Army's most significant operations. Beside me, from 16th Air Assault Brigade, were my fellow commanding officers, including Lieutenant Colonel Matt Taylor and Lieutenant Colonel Mark Swan, two of my closest friends. Written onto the aircraft around us were the names of those who had jumped in 1944, the founding generation of the regiment, who set the standard and defined the global reputation the parachute regiment enjoys today. In my mind were the 650 soldiers of the 1st Battalion, 1 Para, the men and women I commanded and had the honour and privilege to represent on that day. That day, 6th of June 2019, brought home what being a leader in the British Army has meant to me, across a career that now covers more than 2 decades. The deep bonds of kinship and loyalty with those you serve and have grown up alongside. The requirement to be a custodian of traditions and standards that were forged generations before you and will live long after you. The duty to represent the very best of your people, your regiment, and your service. I knew none of this 20 years earlier when I arrived at Sandhurst, the Army's Officer Training Academy, in the expectation that I would stay in the Army for a handful of years at most. I do not come from a military background. My dad has worked his whole career as a self-employed cleaning contractor, and my mum as a psychological therapist. I didn't grow up dreaming of being a soldier or becoming a paratrooper. But once I had joined the Army, buoyed by a sense of adventure and challenge, I discovered the seductive, almost addictive quality of a profession that isn't a job, but a way of life. The Army can be hard to live with, especially for the families who sacrifice so much to enable their loved ones to serve. But for many, it's even harder to live without. The demands the Army makes on its people explain much of its proud and distinctive leadership culture. While combat operations are only a small part of any Army career, it is to fight, and for some to lead soldiers in battle, that most have ultimately joined. To do work that has an unmistakable purpose, to defend the nation, its freedoms and values. That duty is sought, but also carries with it a burden, a responsibility to protect and serve those around you, to uphold the standards of those who came before you, and to pass them on to the generations that will follow. It is this combination of pride, purpose and people, that juncture of past, present and future, which defines to me what it means to be a leader in the Army. Army leadership is also shaped by the breadth of experiences that make up any military career. From my first tour as a platoon commander deployed to Fermanagh, Northern Ireland.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?